Tonight on Under Investigation.
At Esther, they are reclaiming their future and their lives.
The Trusted Women's Treatment Centre.
The basis of the therapy that we underwent was the idea of demonic possession.
Accused of being run like a religious cult.
When you enter the Pentecostal world, almost anything is a demon.
It was a place of abuse and terror at the hands of its leader, Patricia Levata.
We were at her will. She was effectively like God.
The shocking expose of Esther House.
If they broke Patricia Levata's rules, they would be punished.
She would lock us in a room.
Physically restrained to the bed.
Pulling out demons from your stomach.
But this celebrated rehab program had support in high places.
An amazing organisation that we support as a government.
Now, allegations residents were coerced,
Controlling people, putting them down, humiliating them.
and broken.
Got me to a point where I wanted to end my life.
Sorry, that just blew me away.
You can't make this shit up.
How, in God's name, was it allowed to go on for so long?
It was a cult. It was pure and simple as that.
Good evening, I'm Liz Hayes, and this is Under Investigation. Joining me, the Reverend Tim Costello, Chair of the Community Council of Australia and one of the nation's most respected faith leaders. Tamara Cabinet, President of the Australian Psychological Society and a practicing clinical psychologist. David Hardacre, Investigations Editor with crikey.com.au, who first broke the Esther story. In Philadelphia, Patrick Ryan, a cult mediation specialist. And from the inside, speaking exclusively tonight, Cara Phillips.
There was immense fear.
Who spent 4.5 tormented years at Esther House.
Patricia and the Esther Foundation had great standing in the community, and people with mental health problems are generally sidelined or not believed.
Esther House was set up in 1995 as a rehabilitation centre for young women with addictions, mental health issues, or who were victims of domestic violence. With government and church support, it went on to occupy this former convent in Perth until its closure earlier this year.
Fix everything, build everything, do anything.
It was led by Patricia Levata and her husband Rod and became a recognised charity, the Esther Foundation, in 2006. Neither Patricia nor Rod had medical qualifications. Rod was a former drug addict. Patricia, an extreme believer in the Pentecostal faith, with no formal training as a counsellor.
When residents arrived, they were cut off from the rest of the world. They could only listen to Christian music, they could only read Christian material, and they had to be subject to the edicts of one person, Patricia Levata.
Even though it was an unregistered treatment facility and subjected to little oversight by health authorities, Esther House was viewed by much of the public as a model drug and alcohol rehab centre. Troubled young women were sent there by their families, some on the advice of doctors, others were ordered to Esther House by the courts and juvenile authorities.
You just really do bring life and light to those that come around you.
All delivered into the hands of Esther's leader, Patricia Levata, a woman who apparently believed she was on a personal mission from God. And that notion alone should have been an early warning sign, according to cult expert Patrick Ryan.
Those people that have gone through her program, we marginalize them. We marginalize people who have substance abuse, mental health issues, and then we take the person that says they can solve that problem and we elevate them.
Investigating the whole Esther story, what I'm really struck by is how leading businesses, leading politicians were seduced into supporting this, not really knowing what was going on, actually.
In 2008, Patricia Lovato was recognised as one of West Australia's outstanding community leaders. She was supported by prominent locals, including former Premier Colin Barnett, who asked marathon swimming legend Shelley Taylor-Smith to be patron of the Esther Foundation.
So I was invited to a function and the Premier was there, Colin Barnett, and he approached me at the function, introduced me to Patricia and Rod Lovato, who were the founders, and said, Shells, I think you'd be the perfect patron. And I was like taken aback, you know, and that's my introduction to the Esther Foundation. When the Premier's asked you, you kind of go, yes, sir.
David Hardacre, did it have an impact on you when you first looked at this story? Did you think, oh gosh, Esther House, everybody loves this place?
It did. I mean, it was actually quite pivotal. You know, part of the media's difficulty with these things are it's defamation laws. So we're going to have, you know, girls who've had drug problems, who've got, you know, mental illness problems, up against somebody who's been, you know, honoured by the government, who has attracted the attention of the Prime Minister. It makes it really very difficult.
But it's about hope.
Patricia Lovato's breakthrough moment came when fellow Pentecostalist and then Prime Minister Scott Morrison gave Esther his personal and political endorsement.
The Esther Foundation, an amazing organisation that we support as a government.
Morrison pledged $4 million of taxpayers' money to Esther House, which also happened to be in a marginal seat, and praised its work at the Liberal Party's 2019 election campaign launch.
At Esther, they are reclaiming their future and their lives by learning that no one can take away the most important thing, their unique and precious value as a human being and as a woman.
As we'll show, like many others, Scott Morrison and West Australian Premier Colin Barnett were also hoodwinked by Patricia Lovato. Tim Costello, the impact that Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister of Australia, citing Esther Foundation as this model, would have pumped up its reputation beyond belief.
You don't get a bigger marketing coup than the Prime Minister actually putting his stamp of imprimatur on you. That would have gone out, I'm sure, on every social media, and it would have been a protective covering to say, we really now are established and we really now are untouchable.
Tamara.
Well, you know, it's got that stamp of approval. I think it's, you know, one of those things that whenever anyone with standing says that an organisation is doing good, you assume that you're in the right place.
But as we'll reveal in our investigation tonight,
it wasn't an organisation that was saving girls.
The carefully crafted facade of Esther House as a place of love and healing.
Every day you would get told you had the devil in you, you were evil.
Of miracles and redemption.
We were afraid all the time.
Was, to residents like Cara Phillips, a cruel lie. So, Cara, I guess you went there because you thought it was going to be a place that was good for you.
Well, I mean, I went there because I did believe that I was going to get counselling and find some help for my mental health issues. I kind of was there because I had a very specific Christian mindset that I could only seek help from other Christians, which was sort of the doctrine that I had.
But the Christianity Cara said she found at Esther House was more extreme than she could have ever imagined.
The basis of the therapy that we underwent was the idea of demonic possession, essentially, or the idea that you're just essentially evil and that there's nothing in you that is good. The only way you can improve yourself is with God, basically.
This comes out of a very American concept of this Pentecostal movement that has spread around the world, that almost anything that's wrong with us is because we're inhabited by a demon, and that demon needs to be cast away. So there's the demon of homosexuality, there's the demon of incense. When you go and enter the Pentecostal world, almost anything is a demon.
What did you think when you...